Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we're bringing you a preview of Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games. This is a brand new game with, as far as I can tell, a brand new mechanic in the verb and write genre. Yes. Verb and write being roll and write, flip and write,
draw and write,
scream and write, whatever.
Any of the rights.
All of the verb and rights, and this is draft and write. Drafting is where you're cycling cards back and forth between each other, making the best selection you can and the worst selection for your opponent, and triggering a ton of insanely satisfying little, puzzle pops on your board.
And just exploding connections where you get to make really cool chaining effects that explode, like you said.
Yeah, that's the whole foundation of the game. Now, we do have a full gameplay over here on the channel, so if you want to see how it works up and running as a two-player little puzzle, swing over there and check that out. Yeah. And with that,
let's dive in.
Let's get an overview of the game. Shira, what is the general premise of Draft and Write Records?
You are creating a band. You are starting it up from scratch. You are scheduling the appointment dates. You are trying to do sales. You are hiring the people who are in your physical band. You're creating cassettes and records. You are creating harmonies, and you are going on tour. And that is kind of the theme that is behind this. But as it is a flip and write,
verb and write, you're looking
as
for.
It is a verb and write genre, that means you're going to be crossing things off and filling in your scorecard, your paper in front of you, and trying to get the most points possible to win the game.
Now, the thing that is satisfying about the verb and write genre of games, and the question for me around whether or not the game is doing it right, has to be with the way that things start comboing and connecting together. And Draft and Write hits that sweet spot. You have points in this game where you're just taking one or two people, getting that strategic area control set up, and then you have other points where you fill in a band member. That band member creates colored connections linking together. Those trigger the little music section, the harmony section down here below. Once you fill those in, you can unlock money sections, maybe schedule some more events. Those events might trigger a whole line of things that give you another icon over here on the tech sheet, allowing you to make more sales. That might trigger the world tour, pushing you from the bar all the way up to a university play session, which then might end up triggering another thing like a money that unlocks another slot for you to add in more band members as the game continues cycling around. This has some insanely satisfying little pops of color and verb and write style gameplay in it.
Yeah. And for me, the important thing in this genre is the variability. Does each gameplay feel different, or does it feel like I'm going through the same systems? And so far, each time I've played, it has felt different. Granted, we have played with different player counts each time I've played, so that is contributing to it, but it is functioning at different player counts as well.
So, the general premise of the game, the general overview of the game is you're going to be filling out your board until one of three different conditions is hit. You're either going to be unable to play cards a total of 5 times, you're making X's and getting negative points. You're going to accomplish a total of 6 potential end game victory points. Those could be private ones that you have at the start of the game, or public ones that everyone could accomplish as quickly and efficiently as they can. These will be things like filling in a column, having the right amount of points for various different band members, getting the right number of harmonies, or going on the world tour to different locations. And there's an entire stack of different potential end game triggering or victory point triggering conditions. So it does change up how you play and where you want to select your units as you start drafting those cards. Now, you're going to start with a handful of cards, and that'll change based off the number of players.
The other way to trigger endgame? You were going through the ways to trigger endgames?
Fill up your band. Fill up your band.
You can see it all by the exclamation points that are here on the board. Those are the 3 areas that you can trigger endgame.
Now, depending on the number of players you have, you're going to have a handful of cards, and you're going to start passing those around. You'll take one card, you'll resolve that card, and you'll pass these cards around the board. Now, these cards could be a lovely band member for you to add to your board. He will match up with, or they will match up with, the colored zone. So you could have your lead singer, your guitarists, your bass, or your techies, the people that are helping negotiate and drive sales. So there's the different ones that you're looking for. The number in the center will go in there, potentially being multiplied, but that'll be endgame victory points. The colors will fill in the different locations on your board, and you're looking for harmonizations.
Yes.
So the different lines that you have that connect the various different dots, those are things that you're trying to get those colors to match up and just spring off of each other. If you connect those points, you're going to move down here to the harmony zone,
where you get to cross off things and just get points. I mean, this section is probably my favorite part of it, where you cross off. Some of them will give you actual rewards themselves, and some of them are just required to fill in and complete rows and columns. If you complete any of the rows, you will get 15 points. If you complete most of the columns, with the exception of the last one, you will get 10 points. And if you complete the last one, which the reason why it's less points is because it gives you in-game really cool stuff, money, which helps you unlock your band positions and your tour locations, then you get 5 points. And so this can be a huge amount of points depending on how you filled it out and all the harmonies you've obtained.
You're trying to make your band cohesive and work together. Believe it or not, I ended up with a banjo player, a rock guitarist, a loyal photographer, and a jazz musician all mixed together. I want to hear what that band sounds like.
My band sounded awful.
The other cards you might be able to draft are going to be cards that work together up here with your scheduling, your calendar tour dates. These cards are going to let you fill in these columns and rows, giving you connections and giving you sprawling effects whenever you fill out a full section. And then you're also going to have your little iPad connections down here. This is going to be the marketing, the sales, the technology, sharing social media posts, and all of these are going to do the same thing where you're filling up columns and rows, and you'll be triggering the connection points in the middle of those. Now, some of the connection points you could trigger relate with your sales and relate with your tour.
Yes, and those are the only ways that you're going to be able to mark off these two sections, by marking things off on the board. You are going to, every time you get this little trailer symbol, you're going to mark off one of the locations and start going down a path. Your path might be blocked by these money symbols that you will have to use the money symbols gained elsewhere on the board to mark them off. Additionally, once you reach the end of the path, it is various amounts of points, 25, 10, and 15.
But if you go for certain lines, you might get more immediate in-game bonuses. So you have to decide which one you want to go for.
And then up here in cells, there's cassettes and there's CDs, and as you go down the paths, you're going to be at the end of the game multiplying the two paths by each other. So having larger sets to multiply by might be helpful, but going hardcore down one path will get you certain rewards that the other ones won't. And that is also things that you will be only able to mark off these cassettes and these CDs by marking off areas in your notepad and in your tablet.
Now there's one other last type of card mixed in here, which is going to be scandals. Things like your tour bus breaking down, or someone getting a little too rowdy at one of your concerts.
And if you're forced to take that card, if that's what ends up being the best for you, you have to mark off one of these up here, which is also where you would mark off if you couldn't play a card, and that will accelerate endgame.
So that's the core puzzle of draft and write. You're going to be slowly drafting cards, adding your band members to your team, and watching as all of these different chains and connections start to sprawl. I've already said it a dozen times. You should go check out the gameplay or check out the Kickstarter page itself to see if this is something you want to add to your collection. For me, this has been insanely satisfying when it comes to the verb and write genre, and really works well in terms of giving me those moments where I don't feel overwhelmed by complexity, but I feel like I'm doing really crazy things. And like I draw that band member, and suddenly I feel like I'm the biggest genius in the world because I've chained 5 or 6 or 7 different events to pop off in connection with one another.
Yeah.
So that's the core concept.
How do you feel at different player counts? We've played it at
so
4 players and 2 players.
So far, I've really enjoyed it at every player count.
I felt with the 2-player version, I was hate drafting more than I was in the 4-player version. 4-player version, I felt like there was something that I could use pretty much in every hand that I was being handed. 2-player version, I was looking more over at your sheet, thinking like, what can I give you that will be less good for you?
I wasn't necessarily hate drafting at 2 players, but I was checking to see whether or not you would be able to hate draft me.
Yeah.
So I was glancing and being like, she doesn't need this type of band member. If I leave them for a turn and take a different card that she might want a little bit more, she might leave it for a round.
Yeah. So looking at each other in the 2-player version, I felt like there's a little bit more player interaction between me and you. I think the goal cards give the most variability. Every single one that comes out is going to switch how you're going for things in the game. Because in this genre, you are just going to be trying to maximize the most points, whether you go hardcore in any of the sections, but this kind of points you in a direction like, hey, this will give you points and bonuses. They give you ways to mark off different things when you score them. It's not just points.
Yeah, it's in-game victory conditions as well, which means that you might go for one to complete, not because it gives you the most points, but because it gives you something else that helps you trigger or move your game forward. Yeah, there you go. Preview, draft, and write. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let us know. Are you swinging over there? Are you leaving a quack down in the comments down below? By the way, this is coming from the publisher that brought you Earth, brought you Summit. You know, there's some good games that they have headed your way. So, with that being said, we'll see you next time.
Whatever you do, remember to do the important thing.
That stuff.
Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.